Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Demon Lamb podcast. My name is Andy, and joining me again tonight, Grapeviney. Good evening, Grapeviney.
Good evening, Andy, and good evening, Demon Land.
Yes,
welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back in the cold weather. You know, you sort of... being in the warm weather on the beach, it's not football. It's not footy season. You need this bitter cold.
Well, the players had warm weather on the weekend, and that's hopefully doesn't present a problem for them this weekend.
Yeah,
in the follow-up match, which I'm sure we'll discuss.
What was the temperature at night there?
I think it's about mid-20s.
Okay, so it's not too bad.
No, it's pretty warm during the day,
yeah.
But I think the temperature's sort of mid-20s and very high humidity, obviously.
Yes, it's most definitely. It is good to be back, and we apologise last week. We did want to bring you the show live from Fiji, the first podcast. Who knows if it is the first podcast, Aussie Rules podcast done from an overseas country. Probably not, but definitely a Demon Lamb first. We couldn't bring it to you live. Funnily enough, as we finished the program, I was sort of, throughout the program, I was trying to connect to the live stream to get us on live, and it wasn't until the end of the show that I tried it, and we actually connected, so we missed out by that much.
Yep, and that's all right. The club missed out by a little bit more than that much on the weekend, unfortunately. Our first real blowout.
Well, it's
in a sense.
Well, in the sense, because if you remember a few weeks ago, the Sydney game could have been a lot worse. Fortunately for us, on the scoreboard, we didn't take such a big hit, but it wasn't a great display that night, and neither was Saturday night. And just before we discuss that, I might just throw out the phone numbers if you'd like to join Grapeviney and I talk about any of the topics that we're talking about tonight. Would love to hear your opinions. It's good to hear other voices. You can call us, pick up the phone, 039016 3666. That's 039016 3666. Just wait for us to pick up the call. If we pick it up but don't start talking to you straight away, just wait till we call you in. You can also
Any issue you want to discuss.
You want to talk about the
whether
game.
Whether it's on the board or off the board.
Exactly.
We're very flexible.
We are. You can also Skype us, Demonland31. Just search for Demonland31 on Skype. You should find me. I've got a little demon avatar that might... help you find me. My name's Andy. You'll see it up there too. All right, so let's try and dissect the game.
Firstly, don't we have a big announcement to make about next week's show? Are we in a position to do that?
Yeah,
or have I jumped the gun?
No. Thank you for putting me in line. We do have a massive announcement about a guest. I wanted to get this guy on this week, but things didn't work out. But we do have him confirmed for next week, probably at the earlier day of Tuesday rather than the usual Wednesday. Do you want to say it or should I say it?
You say it.
All right. Demon superstar, upcoming superstar, and Demonland sponsored player Jaden Hunt will be joining us live next week from about 8:40. So that is definitely not one to miss. We've got lots to talk to him about.
Absolutely we do. He is turning into a cult figure, online particularly. His footy's obviously putting him in the limelight too, because he's playing really good footy. But I think the real reason that he couldn't join us this week is that he's still waiting for that ball to land from the weekend. It's still, the Torp is in orbit and hasn't fallen back to earth yet. So as soon as the ball lands and we can get a measure on the kick, Jaden will be in to talk about it. But
wasn't that an absolute monster of a kick? And we don't see the Torp often enough anymore. We rarely see it at all. So it was great.
It was a beauty. It was an absolute beauty.
And he's practiced.
Sorry.
He's just practiced that a million times throughout his life.
Well, there was an article in the paper that talked exactly about that, and he said he always tries to get in a few barrels off when he's finishing up on the training track, and has for a long time. So you're right, we don't see it enough, but this was just an old school bomb, and it was a bigger kick than Blight's. Excuse me, which it's been compared to, but Blight really wasn't that far out. What made Blight's kick so incredible was the height that it achieved. But
yep.
Jaden was standing well beyond 60,
yep.
if not 65. He's well back from the 50-metre line. And like Blight's, it also got a lot of height. It was just an absolute ball burster, as old man Rivers has just commented in the chat room. There's a million ways to describe it, and that's a good one. It was a beauty, and it kept us in the game too.
Well, and we'll talk more about that, but three-quarter time and being in the hunt, pardon the pun, about our next week's guest and goal kicker. So I posted today onto Facebook quite a few. It was 3 videos. You're not on Facebook, so you wouldn't have seen this. Of Gary Lyon kicking 3 monster torpedoes. Now, you will remember at least one of them, which was the 1988 preliminary final against Carlton, where he launched one basically, I don't know if you remember it, but it was off like one step, and he did it very quickly. He took the mark, turned around, and virtually kicked it straight away. Now, he was inside the square. How far out do you think he was in that one?
Lions is one of the biggest I've ever seen, because we know Waverley was a big ground.
Yeah.
And as you say, he was a step or two inside the centre square. And it cleared the line.
Yeah, just sort of cleared the line.
Just cleared, but yeah, that's gone 70, at least 70, and perhaps 75. That's one of the biggest I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was massive.
What were the other 2 that you put up?
There was one against Geelong, which I don't remember. I mean, I've seen
at
over
Waverley,
the years at Waverley, a massive one, and there was another one at the G against Freo, where he sort of launched.
Which is also a really big kick from... Yeah. But that one seemed to be more sort of 65 range, I reckon. There's a couple of Darren Bennett ones floating around on YouTube as well. But
he used to drop punt them.
Bennett was more renowned for his drop punt, as you say.
Yeah, and I've seen recently, I saw, who was that guy for Collingwood, Anthony Rocker. He also used to drop punt, so have a massive kick.
Yep.
But I do like the Torp as a kick.
Well, players, you see it occasionally pulled out in that exact instance at quarter or three-quarter time.
Yeah, where they're too far out.
And they're too far out, and almost 9 times out of 10 it goes off the side of the boot and travels about 30 metres. So it's rare to see a player actually connect with it these days. And I guess players just aren't practicing it. But Jaden Hunt is, and what a beauty!
I mean, I'm not a physics major or anything like that, so I just often wonder what it is about that particular kick that makes it so much travel through the air so much further. Obviously, there's some aerodynamic reasons for it.
Yep.
Because I know I'm not the biggest kick there is, but whenever I do get onto a Torp, it goes a lot further. Yeah,
and it's funny at the point in the commentary, and it would have been the same or perhaps different for Melbourne fans watching the game, the point at which you realised, oh, hang on, this isn't a normal kick. He's actually got onto this.
Yeah.
So they're talking, and they're not even paying. The commentators are talking, and they're not even paying attention to the kick. And then about halfway through, they can see that it's a bomb, and then you hear the oh. So it's it's always a thrill to see, because there is that sort of lag before you realise that they've gotten onto it, and this one's going to travel far.
Well, let's just take a listen on it. Hopefully YouTube doesn't play an ad, and yes, it is going to play an ad, so I'm going to I'm going to just mute that until the ad plays. But yeah, let's take a listen. We've got 5 more seconds. It's not allowing me to skip the ad. Here we go.
He needs a Malcolm Blight Torpy here. You have to go as far as Blighty's just about.
He's a great character, this man. He's going to load up with a barrel. To give him a lift if he nailed this. Oh,
yeah, it is. The ball was very airborne before they even gave the... before they even started with the... I really think they weren't expecting expecting it to do anything or even get halfway. So, yeah, fantastic. And, at that point, what were we down by? 21 points or 20-odd points at that stage?
Well, we were 27 and that took it back to 21.
21.
Which, as we know from the rest of the year, is very, very manageable for the 2017 Demons.
Yep.
It's about our favourite margin, actually, to be down late in games.
I mean, we've come back from 28 points down early in games to get back.
Unfortunately, the momentum in the last quarter was lost very early on due to 2 Sam Frost fumbles in the one passage of play. We were very slippery and fumbly for a lot of the night, and unfortunately that was a crucial error. And Adelaide got the ball down the other end and scored straight away. And that seemed to really kill it off, unfortunately. Yeah,
that can do it to you. We had a pretty poor start. The stats say we had lots of inside 50s, but we just couldn't score. So, what do we? How do we fix that?
It'll come with time, I think. Jesse's still sort of just off a little bit, so he's not far off. He's sort of like a 5% off, because he's getting in the right positions and almost taking marks, but they're slipping out. And so the forward line, which is starting now to take a bit of shape again, is actually, certainly on Saturday night, looked a lot more dysfunctional than it did during the times when it was dysfunctional and actually functioning quite well. So definitely had trouble setting up scoring opportunities, particularly in that first quarter. And yet they were able to do it with relative ease. So, I think Watts is almost certain to play this week. So that's Watts and Hogan back together. Jesse will hopefully be even better than he was on Saturday night. He started to get a bit of the footy late up the ground, which was good.
Yeah, I'm happy that they're sort of trying to get him into games, playing him up the ground. I think he'll definitely be better. He's better off for the 2 hit-outs he's had. Let's hope he starts to fire and,
And it's all going to be fluid over the next few weeks with these players coming back. Watts coming back firstly, but then, once Jones and Viney and Salem are back and Tyson, then Christian Petrarca is going to go spend much more time back forward. And then so there's the dynamics of that forward sort of set up with Hogan, Watts, Petrarca and
it's not just those, but it's also some of those bit part players, like the Bullens and the Hannons and even Jordan Lewis have been playing more time in the middle. It'll sort of free them up to not play as much time in the middle and sort of concentrate on their positions, because we've had to sort of rotate more people through there. And, with these guys coming back, it's going to, make it easier for a lot.
Yeah, I thought Lewis played pretty well the other night.
Yeah.
Arguably his best, or certainly one of his better games for the club. So in the sense that people were demanding that he step up in Viney and Jones' absence, I guess he's done that to a good extent.
And what about our man Peterson? Sort of in the last few weeks, he's sort of dropped off a bit.
I think he sort of thrived. So it's basically since Max got back. He was thriving in that role that he came into play, and he played it really well. And now, now he's a bit part player and hasn't sort of demonstrated the same capacity when he's been up forward to impact.
So what does that say about him and his career, his future?
I think limited on. You and I discussed this in the middle of, in the middle of his sort of hot streak when Max was still out, and a lot of people were saying that Peterson won't be out of the side again this year. I still think there's a chance he will be. Yeah, well, look, I was during that time. I was saying I couldn't believe he wasn't in the team prior to that, and I was one of those people saying, he'll play every game this year. He's a required player, but now Tommy Mack may or may not stay up forward. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see how good he lines up. So much has happened since the beginning of the season, when his first plan this season was to have Watts as the backup ruckman and Wiedemann as the third forward. So it'll be interesting to see once everyone's back, assuming everyone can get back and healthy at the same time, whether he'll returns to that formula or opts for something else now that he's seen what Tommy and Cam are capable of.
And Gorney, what are your thoughts on him sort of starting to find a little bit of form?
It's coming back slowly, yeah. Clunked a couple of marks on the weekend, which were back to the Gorn of old. Yep. So sort of starting to see his presence again in the pack, the big, strong Max that we saw last year, but that we haven't seen in the, that's slowly sort of coming back in as he gets sort of a bit of fitness and form back. So he will be fine in another week or two.
Yeah, definitely. I think many supporters were probably thinking he'd just slot back in the team at his All-Australian best, but you got to remember he spent a lot of time out of the game, and it takes a while for players to get match fitness and get back up to speed. Obviously,
and the same applies to Jesse Hogan, who's copped a lot of unwarranted criticism on the board during the week. A lot of silly things said. Some people saying get rid of him, others saying he should be back at Casey, and I call him sick to work if I'm not ready, and all kinds of nonsense written about him. As I said, he's not far off anyway. He's just a couple of % short of making them stick. But think about what he's had to deal with and what he's coming back from, and how much time he's spent out of the game too, when you throw in his 2-week suspension before any of the other stuff happened. So Jesse's played very little footy this year. So it's only natural that it's going to take a few weeks to get his touch back.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I still think he took the most marks on the weekend anyway. So, very disappointing, that criticism, I thought.
Well, it is Demonland after all. We do like to criticise. Personally, I don't. But when the chips are down, people criticise, and it's easy to do so when you're an anonymous, nameless, person on the internet.
Yeah, none of them would dare go up to Jesse at training and say, "Mate, you should be back playing Casey." Or,
exactly.
What are you doing at work? You haven't got over your issues yet. But, they're two really big things to happen to a young man, one on top of the other. We've said it a few times. So, I think the other thing that people forget is Jesse's dad was ill for quite a while before before he passed away. So this has been, that issue's been with him for a long time. So it's not, it wasn't something that just happened suddenly. And, it's been, I'm sure that's been affecting him in the long term as well. So,
and you got to remember not just the fact that his father was sick, but that he's a couple of states away. He's not there living with him. Jesse made the decision. He could have easily have taken a big contract and gone back to WA to be with his family. He showed us quite a bit of loyalty during a tough time for him and his family, and stuck with us. And I think the least we can do is stick with him. And
if you cast your mind back to the start of pre-season, he came back in ripping shape. He was judged by all Demonland's track watchers over the summer to be pretty much the best trainer in pre-season. And he was in ripping nick at the start of the JLT series. So he was, in spite of what was going on in his, in his family situation, he came back ready to play and was primed for a really good season. Unfortunately, it just hasn't panned out that way.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. We just wish Jesse, that he will find that form again, and we know that he will. Moving on, Bernie Vince, did a great job on Sloane again, but unfortunately sort of soured that by two incidents that cost him 2 matches on the sidelines and a couple of grand in fines. What do we do with Bernie? Do we try and curb that aggression, or do we just let him play the way he plays and a bit of that unsociable football?
Well, surely he needs to, the head bump I don't sort of have an issue with.
Yeah, I think that's just, he had to sort of go in for that.
Yeah, that was in the contest, and even if he'd stepped over the line with that a little bit, I can wear that. But the elbow to Betts is just dumb.
Yeah.
Unsociable, aggro, aggressive, whatever you call it. Yeah. It's just stupid. He's always going to go for that, and he did go. He's got a record as long as my arm, and just, straight away he's gone for a couple of weeks as soon as he does it. And so absolutely, and I'm sure they are trying to curb that aspect of it. They probably wouldn't have an issue with a bump, but they'd certainly, and they being sort of Goody and the football department and his teammates would have an issue with stupid elbows to the head off the ball. A lot of people on Demonland have been complaining about the match review panel, and that's all well and good, and they're totally inconsistent from week to week and decision to decision, but don't even put your name in front of them. Don't take the chance with them, especially when you're Bernie Vince and you've been rubbed out 200 times already. It's not good enough, and particularly at a time when, just like the boys who were caught drinking, when we're short on players, it's doubly dumb. So, Bernie in the bad books.
Yes, he is, and we've got a caller calling in now. Hello, you are on the air.
Yeah, thanks, gents. Great show tonight. I just was Danelska here. I was just calling up about Bernie, who I love, but I just wonder about his currency for next year. It's easy for Bernie, and my sense is, in watching him over his career, he's always taken the cheap shots, which you don't really want to say about anyone, but it just seems to happen time and time again. What is he, early 30s? Can you eradicate that? Probably not. So what sort of currency does he have for 2018 and onwards? And I'm marginally bemused at the same time as to why he's not been pushed forward, where I think he would be far more effective.
I've been saying that for quite a while to play him in the forward line. Grapeviney just asked, I think, what are you talking about in terms of currency? Are you talking trade currency or just whether he remains on the list currency?
Yeah. So certainly not trade, but certainly what does he have to offer for the Melbourne Football Club in a skills capacity? Yeah, with people coming through at the same time.
Grapeviney, you want to take that one?
Well, yeah. I mean, ideally, you want the younger players coming through to be, starting to push the likes of Bernie and Jordan out of the way, because that means the list is getting better, and those guys are coming to the end anyway. So you want that transition happening soon rather than after they're finished. But I think he showed on the weekend, and we've seen it a couple of times. He's still got value as a tagger. He knows how to do that job really well. He's taken care of Sloane twice this year. I agree that he might still have value up forward. He's done Look, he hasn't had a great year. His disposal seems to be getting worse. Maybe
the Carlton game, there were quite a few clunkers.
There's always seems to be a few turnovers. Look, I'm not sure. I think it won't be a bad thing if he's starting to struggle to get a game next year. But I think he's still a required player and is still best 22 at the moment.
Yeah, we still need the experience. That's something that we don't really have a lot of, particularly with such a young team. So the experience is good, but you also want good habits being on show as well. So I can do without some of the thuggery stuff. Even though I do like a bit of unsociable football, I don't think that's terrible, but the cheap shots aren't great.
Now, Danelska, you reckon that, and I think I've said this before as well, that all of our injuries will actually hold us in good stead for the future, because Goody's had to be versatile, and we've discovered Tom McDonald, the forward. We know Peterson can fill in for Max. The mids have had to do different things, and then others have had to come in and replace the mids. So I agree with you on that front.
Yeah. I guess, the natural inclination for anyone, particularly on D Milan, is we want instant gratification. We want to feel good, and here we are being out of the finals. Not only do we want finals, but we want to get into the grand final, which makes really good sense. I just think if you're playing the long game, it bodes really, really well for our team to have that adversity. And there's adversity in this context under Simon Goodwin. And beyond him, the relevant coaching staff, development staff, etc. And there's adversity maybe 5 years ago under certain coaches, etc. I just think there's so much learning and growth that comes from this. And at times it feels really shit and uncomfortable, and that's cool. I think as supporters we've got to temper our urgency for things, and kind of understand that it's a long game, and not necessarily look at maybe the Bulldogs peaking early or Hawthorn peaking early, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever that may have been. I
think the reason for that, though, the reason that's happening is because it's such an even year. So I'm like you, I'm looking at the long game, and coming into this season I wasn't even expecting finals necessarily, but it's hard not to dream about it when it's such an even year. And now with the bye the week before the final starting, you get that week off. So just with our injuries, that it allows us to sort of freshen up even further. And it's hard not to be seduced by the dream, is it? In those circumstances where there's not a clear leader.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it later, but now that we've got a guest on, finals, we've been talking finals. Now, at the beginning of the year, I thought, we need to make the finals for it to be a successful year. But even having said that, I never thought we'd be in the position where we're in now. And we're in a good position. We've got some tough games, but we're almost there. We still need to win those 4 games, hopefully more than that. But it's also we could very likely not make the finals at this stage. So, considering our position now, considering all the injuries we have, is it a failure for us where we are now to not make the finals? Or are injuries an excuse, a good enough excuse? And I can throw that out to either of you.
Yeah, look. I think we're considering injuries, and I would think that everyone in Demonland sees that as a real context. If we miss finals, it'll be really, really disappointing. And considering our run versus other teams' runs, it may actually happen. We're bringing people back in, and of course they're going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball with form and fitness. So particularly this week, for example. So I think there's a really big discrepancy between going, well, we want to make finals and we should make finals versus it's actually disappointing. It's just a feeling which is disappointing in its own right. I think at the start of the year I hoped we'd get into the bottom 4 of the 8, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Right now, the dream is the top 4, but I'll settle for 7, 8 at a pinch, considering our tough run and just how unlucky we've been with injuries this year to significant players throughout. And I think it's almost incomparable to other teams. I'm happy to be wrong on that one.
Well, GWS have got a long injury list too, but they bat very deep, deeper than we do. So they've sort of been able to cover it a bit better. But the other thing that people discount, and I saw it mentioned in the Herald Sun super ladder that they print on the Monday morning, it's not just the injuries; it's also our youth and immaturity and inexperience. We're still putting out. Perhaps things get skewed a bit with. We're still putting out a very young side each week, that was the main reason coming into this season that I thought we might not play finals. Is we're going to have a very young team taking the field each week, and I think that together with the injuries, not an excuse but a reason as to why we might not make it.
This week's game is extremely important. I don't know if the Herald Sun wrote an article today about the 8-point games, and they listed this as one. I think it's probably more important for us than it is for Port. But if we lose this game, it's sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a mini elimination final for us, because obviously we're not out if we lose, but it's going to make the climb that little bit harder. We really need to win this week. It's one of the games that, what do they say we need to win to get in? 4 more games?
13 would be a certainty, and 12 is a possibility. So, we can lose and still make it. No issue about that. The GWS and Port games are going to be difficult. Brisbane, St Kilda, likely to be a close game. And then you'd expect we should win the other 3, which is North, Collingwood and Brisbane. So that's 3 to take you to 12. So can we win, one of the difficult ones too, as well as the 3 that we're meant to?
Yeah, I think we've got to try and take a scalp.
Or will we win all the difficult ones and lose the
yeah, well, that's
easy
Melbourne.
Ones? That you can't tell this year. So it's really a week-to-week thing, isn't it? get all the points he can now.
Yeah, well, that's you
the
got
way
to
to do it.
bank them all. I want to take a scalp before the end of the year as well. It'd be nice to take down a GWS.
We're going to be bloody nervous if we're going into our last game of the year against Collingwood, needing to win.
Can you imagine them beating us?
Demonland are going to melt down if that's the case.
I'll have to shut the server down for a day.
Yeah, there could be life bans being handed out all around the shop. So, let's try and secure it now.
Yeah. And I think while I've got Danelska, was it? I had this down as a topic of discussion, and I think you may have started the thread. So maybe I'll ask you the question. Just a bit of forum talk at the moment. Did you start the thread critiquing the content, not the person?
Yeah, I'm that bastard.
Well, I'm not the one calling you a bastard, but I did think it was sort of a valid point. I don't know. I think you looked at it in terms of mental health of the poster posting, and I don't, sort of see it that way. But I've always been a big proponent of, play the ball, not the man, when it comes to forum type things. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I probably went down a bit of a longbow, but I guess the reality is you never know what's going on for someone else. And I'm well up for banter. That's great, and that's what part of this is about. But banter about, when you start to attack individuals, I get a bit sensitive about. Because I work in the industry. I'm a psych. If I put it out there, really clear on that one. And you never know what's going on for someone. Like most of the time, you presume it's above board and people are going to not really buy into it. You just never quite know. And I'm just really about, go the content and critique that in its own right. Just kind of pull back from, if you're willing to, attack an individual. And it's so easy to do. And I kind of feel as though it struck a little bit of a chord without being sort of smug about it all. There seems to be a lot of posts on it.
Yep.
And
what's amazing is that threads about the forum are usually closed within minutes of starting because they turn into exactly what you're asking people to avoid, which is personal insults and the like and abuse. And it's a miracle. Well, it is a miracle that this thread has lasted for 6 or 7 pages. And
correct.
The better part of a week now and hasn't had to have been shut down.
Correct, which has been really kind of lovely, just from an outsider's perspective. But, people are entitled to their opinions. It's just about the need to kneecap others along the way, fundamentally, which I think is a little bit problematic. And it's just really about that quick reflection. Shit, what am I writing here? Can I pull back a little bit and make it about the content rather than the individual? And, I reckon the first page was really about me being left-wing and liberal and soft and all that sort of shit. And that's cool and that's fine. I'll wear that. But we're all united in our support for Melbourne, and it's just so easy to hide behind a facade. But by the same token, I'm probably preaching to the converted anyway, and that's okay.
You see, when I started this website, I always thought, no one's ever going to fight because we all barrack for the same team. How wrong I was. I think not long after we started the website, that was the whole Joe Gutnick versus the other mob saga, and it really split people down the middle. And then we had our lean years, our 10 years in the wilderness, and that really brings out the worst in people. And try to let as much as you can go, but when it starts to become personal, Yeah, you got to sort of step in and throw the.
Nothing breeds connection like winning and dominance, right? So when we get that, Demonland Forum will be absolutely fine.
Well, I must say this year, and particularly when we had that winning streak, there was no reporting of posts. I mean, the last 10 years, every day people are... And I prefer people to report posts rather than take it up on their own to bag the person who made the post. If you don't like something, just report the post and we'll sort it out. So I don't mind when people report the post, but I must say we used to get it on a daily basis, and Grapeviney, being a moderator, gets the same emails I get when people report the posts. But I must say, when we had that period of winning, not one reporting of posts. So yeah, you're right there.
We send them on to ASIO, by the way, so they're all reported posts are followed up and security checks done on the relevant posters.
So, is there anything else, Danelska, that you would you'd like to talk about?
Oh, look! I think it's been covered. I do think a lot about Jesse Hogan, and whether he jumps on Demonland, I doubt it very much. But the undue pressure or the undue criticism that comes his way, I'm kind of in agreement of second efforts and all that, those 1% of stuff. The young dude, it'll come in time. It'll come with him, getting into the groove of how he plays. I think he's going to be really, really rock solid for us. I'm just trying to think of stuff that's been recently on land this week. So, the criticism of Jesse Hogan, I get people want immediacy and want to see it now because of their high expectations, and he's had a fucking shit year.
Yeah.
He's had a fucking shit year.
No, we spoke about that just before, so we're with you 100% on that. He'll come good in his own time and space, and we'll be waiting to cheer him on when it clicks back together for him, and I think it's not too far away.
Cheers, gents.
All right, thank you very much for your call.
Good talking to you, Danelska.
Yeah, it's always good to hear from other Demonlanders, and Danelska's always been a good contributor in our live chat that we have going on. If you can find us if you're listening to this on the site, demonland.com/podcast. There's a tab at the top of the site for that says podcast, and you can join us every time we're live in the live chat and contribute, ask questions. We try to look at it, and I can see Ethan Tremblay has asked, did I miss the big announcement? And yes, you did miss the big announcement. Next week, we'll be having Jaden Hunt on as our very special guest. And
Nippies.
We will ask him about his nippies. He's not going to be live in the studio, so I can't have some nippies for him. But
I think he's got more than enough supply, judging from his social media feed.
Yeah. So it'll be.
Is there any chance they are going to sponsor him next year and try and take this sponsorship off Demonland?
Well, they can.
They might outbid us.
Well, it's funny because we should make he announced, that he was, the club announced that he's signed on till 2020, which was fantastic, and I put a post up on Facebook that Demonland has decided to extend their player sponsorship of Jaden Hunt until 2020. So yes, it's good. I thought that was very good by us to match the club.
Sensational.
So yeah, we'll be chatting with him next week, and looking forward to that. And
get your questions ready for Jaden, by the way.
Yeah, you can post in the Demonland podcast thread any questions you'd like us to ask him. I think anything's on the table. We'll talk about obviously his football career. How it's quite an interesting. He's got quite an interesting story about how he got drafted, and how the scouts sort of found him. So we'll ask him about that and anything else you want us to talk about.
Did you see the picture of him in Darwin dancing with that dance circle? Not the picture, the video of him dancing in the streets in Darwin.
Yeah, I did.
And also going on the big slide at the park.
Yes, I did. I did see that.
And a few months back, you probably would have seen him going to see the Batman movie dressed as Batman.
Yes.
So, what a kid. I think he's just a big kid, or so it seems.
Yeah.
But so really looking forward to having a chat to Jaden. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, definitely lots to talk about. And also the week after, I can't announce yet who may be on the show, but there's another big name, past big name, that may be on the show that even you, Grapeviney, don't know about yet. And when we're off the air, I will fill you in on that one. So look, lots of good things coming up for the Demonland podcast. Old Man Rivers has said, let's get Alan Jakovic onto the podcast. And I've thought about that, actually. I looked him up on Facebook. He's not on Facebook.
Everyone's trying to get Jakovic.
If anyone's
all
got
the podcasts,
sure.
Probably all the footy shows.
Yeah.
We keep hearing stories that
he's on a fishing boat or something.
He's fishing somewhere. That's the... Jacko is the holy grail, isn't he, in terms of talent. Whoever gets Jakovic gets the award.
Keeps the bickies. Does Glenn Jakovic still commentate or anything like that? Is he still around or coaching? Or
I'm not sure, to be honest.
No one's ever asked him where Alan is.
Yeah, it's a good question. Maybe we can get Ethan or McQueen, some of our Perth Demonlanders to report on that situation, because that would be one way. I don't know. Are they talking even?
I don't know. The last time I saw them together was when Jakovic kissed him. Yeah. That was great. That was fantastic.
We don't know whether that was a kiss in love or the Godfather's kiss of death to his brother.
Yeah,
the kiss on Frodo.
Well, we've got to get you onto Facebook, because there was another video I saw on Facebook this week, and that was someone... I think they posted it actually on Demonland as well. There was a 1994 video. Well, it was a highlights package of 94, and that was a great year.
It was a great year, and that video's got all that footage, which includes the two finals, of course, against Carlton and the Dogs, and Schwartz's best year. 94 when he tore it apart, kicked 60-plus goals from centre-half forward, and took the most marks in the competition. Yeah, they were fun times.
They were fun times.
And that I still love to watch that. You know, the game against Carlton was really good for a number of reasons, but the game against the Dogs was scintillating football, with Gary kicking 10 to three-quarter time and Schwartz just in swashbuckling form.
Yes, take us back to 1994. Great year. So we talked about finals, whether success, is it a failure or not? I really want to make the finals this year. I know there's the long game, but I really, really want to make a statement, and let's do it. A couple of injury talk. Gus is returning to Casey this week. Yeah, this is really good. Do you think, providing he has no setbacks with concussion issues, do you reckon he can make it into the team by the end of the year, or is that too much of an ask? I'm not anticipating it. Yep. It'd be a huge boost if he could. I mean, look, we're still, we're still a month away, so we've still got a bit of footy before finals. So look, it's possible if he stays uninjured, and in that time he'll get fitness and form together, hopefully. So who knows? It's possible. Almost like getting a new player back into the team. Would it ever? I mean, it's a shame we haven't had him in the past few weeks, but
that'd be a huge boost to the side to have Angus back out there.
Yeah, so let's fingers crossed. He doesn't have any concussion setbacks because I know I've been following Paddy McCartan's also been having a lot of concussion issues, and it seems to be those guys that just keep getting it over and over and over again.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Number 1 and number 3
Yep.
in the draft. So,
and number 2 had a year out with a knee injury. So, hasn't been a lot of luck for those guys. Other injury list, Jones still says 1 to 2 weeks. So, hopefully we start seeing him back soon. So Kent, we don't know the extent of his injury. I read something strange that they're going to wait 2 weeks until they decide whether they have surgery. Do you know what the reason behind that is?
No, I didn't see that. Kent's in trouble, I would have thought, in terms of this season.
Yeah, but season and possibly his future with the club because this was
this was shine time.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was you could see when they showed him down in the rooms that he was absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
At what had happened, he was very down, unfortunately, and that's bad news. Really bad news for him.
So players returning this week. We don't have a definite on Salem, do we? I was under the assumption that he was still a little bit off, but he's in the mix this week.
Apparently he's in the mix. Now I've been told of the other trio that Watts is definite.
Yep.
Or as close to definite as you can be when you've still got to go through tomorrow's session.
Yep.
Tyson is likely.
Yep.
Veering towards highly likely. And Vine is a bit further back in a possible
I don't think he's
scenario.
I don't think he's going to play. I think that's a bit of media hype or hype from supporters, more wishing for him to play. I saw him interviewed today on the news, and
it was pretty balanced.
I
didn't say one way or the other.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression that he was going to play after he said that. Of course, he wants to play. The guy would eat through his arm, eat through his foot to get back on the field. No, he doesn't. I don't. Of course,
because he was all optimistic, and then he said, "Look, the doctors. I'm optimistic, but the doctors are conservative.
Yeah,
and the team will come first." And I thought he's
not playing.
He's probably not playing. So I think Watts and Tyson, and we don't know about Salem, so it'd be good to get him back. But again. We know that the doctors are conservative and Salem's had hamstring issues. So
this coach does not play players who are not 100%. Is my understanding.
Doesn't seem so.
We've seen that all year. So I can't see them changing that. So who goes out? We know Vince is out. We know Kent is out. So they're 2 automatic outs.
Oh, look, Jeffy Garlett.
Oh, well, yes, I was just about to bring that up.
Yep.
He's gone back to Western Australia for an undisclosed family issue, and they didn't say, they said he's unlikely, but you would think, given that he's gone over, on what day it was, Wednesday, I don't know, it all depends what the actual reason is.
It was a death in the family.
Oh, it was a death in the family, okay.
Yeah, so, he posted something on Instagram.
Okay, now
which sort of indicated that, so...
I mean, unless he's just going over for a funeral...
I don't
know. Come back, he can still play, but it depends.
I don't know how close this person was.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what it comes down to. If it's sort of parent, grandparent, uncle, and I know, sort of, in the Aboriginal community,
it's actually quite different in the Indigenous community than our family structures.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that. So,
yeah,
possibly unlikely that he's going to play. So,
which is a shame.
Which we've got to factor that in. So, you would say Watts and Tyson in for the other two. If Garlett's out, who comes in then? Ben Ken. I don't know. I think the twos had a bye last week. So
I don't know. Do they give Stretch another go? Is Ben Ken ahead of him?
Yeah, that I don't know. Someone's Dominatrix Tyson has set. I like that name, username. Dion Johnston for Garlett. I'm happy to try out, guys.
I don't know where he is in the queue.
Yeah.
He was at the front of the queue in that week that everyone got in trouble.
Well, that was because 4 players got in trouble. So,
but I don't know where he is in the queue. Otherwise, I wouldn't have thought his first cab off the rank.
Yeah, so selection table will be interesting, as will. This is a very, very. I don't need to say it. Been talking about it all night, but it's a very important game. You know, the most important game of the year at the moment. They got a lot of good players, but they have not beaten a top 8 team this year. So are they the real deal? Or have they had an easy run?
Well, we're going to find out. Saturday, that's for sure. I think if we bring our A game, it'll be a good contest. But we certainly need to enter forward 50 a lot better than we did last week. That's for sure. That'll be the difference between possibly winning and losing. Kicking a decent score.
Yeah, and I used to love playing games against interstate clubs at the G, but this year, not so much. So, it's going to be an interesting one. And we need to win. They got to treat it as a final. This is, we can't afford to drop games now. The pointy end of the season.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it'd just be great for the confidence of the list, and of the team if they can have another strong win this weekend. I think that would really steel us for the run home. I think if we win this weekend, you can almost guarantee we'll play September.
Old Man Rivers has said need to control Chad Wingard, and I would add Robbie Gray to that list. He's very, very, very dangerous, and a couple of their forwards usually give us a bit of trouble as well. Dixon sometimes gives us a bit of trouble.
We beat them there last year over in Adelaide, so they're playing better footy though this year, that's for sure.
Yeah. What is Dominic lowest conceded points that they have the tightest defence in the league. Yes.
It's not going to help if Jeffy's out, that's for sure.
No, it's not.
Mind you, he was a bit wayward on the weekend, and I think he finished with 3 points or 4 points.
Yeah, he's had a couple of weeks this year where he's kicked quite a number of behinds. So
just in recent weeks, he had been really accurate up until that point. So he's just gone a little bit off in the past couple.
Yep. All right. If last chance, anyone wants to call the show, 039016 3666, or you can Skype us like Danelska did on Demonland 31. Anything else before we close up shop for the week?
No, I think we got through the main points. So, yeah, big game on Saturday.
Yep. I won't be sitting in our section this week. I'll be sitting a bit over. I've got I've got tickets for the Demon Lounge. So if anyone else is in the Demon Lounge, look me up. I'll be wearing a red carnation. I won't, but I'll be in the Demon Lounge with a mate this week. Not sure who the special guest is, be nice, and hopefully we get a win.
So you won't be in your normal seat this week?
No. If anyone wants to take my seat this week, you can call in and get my seat.
Very good.
Could have
had it as a prize.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we'll end it there for the night. Get the music up. So thank you all for listening to this podcast. We are live tomorrow. Next week, we'll be live Tuesday night instead of Wednesday night. We'll be live with our very special guest, Jaden Hunt, joining us for the first time on the Demonland podcast. Got lots to ask him. If you do have a question for Jaden Hunt, hit us up on the Demonland podcast thread on Demonland. We'll be live with him at 8:30 next Tuesday night. So, yes, don't forget to join us for that all-important interview. Thank you for listening. You can join us, as I said, every week live at demonland.com/podcast. All right, go D's, and we'll catch you next week.
Go Demons.
Go D's.